Here we are introducing a young woman, 24 years old, with athetosis cerebral palsy. In sitting, you can see the weakness of the head and neck. We are encouraging her to put weight into her legs in order to gain closed chain stability. As you may notice, when she lifts the arms, her trunk has involuntary motions which causes instability. Athetosis causes a disruption of the internal sensory motor feedback system for appropriate motor commands, which leads to the generation of faulty, involuntary movements. The following are snapshots from the therapy session where yoga is integrated into physical therapy. We allow her to walk at her preferred speed of walking, which is very fast because it requires less control. Obstacles make her lift the legs better, similar to a patient with Parkinson's disease and those with motor learning and motor planning issues. Here are a few things we work on in the session. Right now she's in Tadasana, which means mountain pose in yoga, and it can be one of the most difficult positions for someone like her. It's used to enhance her awareness of standing alignment, balance, and posture. The position of the feet influence the alignment of the whole leg, and the client is instructed to pay special attention to subtalar joint neutral. You can see how difficult it is for her to lift the arch and hold it up. The pronation influences the internal rotation of the hips and the flexion of the knee. The client is helped by the therapist and the props. The props used here are the parallel bars and the mats to lean on. Next, she will be assisted into raising her arms up. After this, she practices balancing all on her own. Notice that when she practices, her legs are hip-width apart. The next pose is Uttanasana, which is forward bending of the trunk and pelvis over the hips. This is a good position to elongate the hamstrings and calf muscles. Notice that the client, because of her condition, has difficulty transferring weight onto her hands. Initial bending of the knees improves her ability to understand the task by putting her hamstrings on slack. And when her hamstrings are on slack, it's easier for her to bend forward from the trunk and pelvis over the hips. The next activity is sitting. Again, the alignment of the body in sitting is enhanced by the use of the yoga props and manual handling of the therapist. You can see the use of yoga blocks to align the client's hips and knees and feet, and this allows the client to experience the position in the correct way. Closing the chain makes it easier. By placing her hands on the parallel bars, we close the chain. Here, you see again we are returning to the activity of bending forward, with yoga blocks and manual handling and verbal explanation assisting the alignment and enhancing the client's performance. You may notice the improvement during this time versus the last time she performed this bending activity. Notice that the client, because of her condition, has difficulty transferring weight onto her hands. Returning to the activity of sitting, she is able to practice the extension of the trunk assisted by the use of her arms on the parallel bars. Here, in standing, you can see the shortened everters and dorsiflexors. Notice the pronation, or the flat foot, or the pes planus posture. The next few minutes will be focused on the alignment and the training of the lower extremities. Now we are sitting with a cross-legged position, and we are elongating the everters and dorsiflexors and thus improving joint mobility. Of course, we have to switch the legs to do both sides equally. The range that we want to increase at the ankle will influence the range of motion at the hips and vice versa. You can see that we are elongating the everters and dorsiflexors by placing the foot into inversion and supination. Now she is sitting and she has a yoga block between her legs, and she is learning about proper alignment of the ankle. Again, notice how difficult it is for her to lift the arches. Next, she is standing and again needs to be realigned with the manual help of the therapist into the correct position. Alignment is the precise and often subtle technical points given to align the body and explore the posture fully. An imprint of the correct alignment is learned through the internal self-experience. This is motor learning. Weakness of postural muscles cause gait and balance difficulty. Improving general muscle strength in activities in sitting and standing will translate into improved function. And at the end of the session, you will see a before and after picture. Notice how difficult it is for the patient to shift the legs into swing phase. She's standing and lifting one leg up at a time, simulating walking, but not walking. This shows us that in addition from therapy, she would benefit from orthotics. It is a good opportunity to look at what do we want to achieve for her in an orthotic. Notice we only cue her now how we want her to stand, and she does it this time on her own. Here's your before, and here's your after. Thank you for your attention and your commitment to learning.